monicas right here. Actually no, I made a mistake. That's why it's not returning it, because I had K instead of C. Okay, so typos are something that could kill our day, unfortunately, if we're not careful. So you have to be very careful what you type in. So obviously we have two monicas at this point, and hence the result actually is Monica as a CEO and Monica as an employer. So we have two monicas. One is a CEO, the other one is employer. But now further, we said if we want to run a query where I'm just going to copy the same structure, okay, and then say and as before, P employee type equals to CEO. Obviously, oops, that's a query too, okay, and then now we're going to query too, okay, and what's going to happen at this point is we're going to get only one result, obviously, because only one result or one Monica as a CEO is found within the data source, which is the collection. Okay, so keep that in mind. One other thing that I wanted to specify was, before we talked about caching and immediate execution, keep in mind that by putting this in brackets and by transforming the entire object to list, okay, will force the execution to be much faster against the query. Okay, so just keep in mind about those things. You can do this for an array as well, so we can transform it to array or to list. So I'll just keep this query at this point just the way it is, so that you have it for the record, and it is available under the source code so that you can download it. Okay, let's move on, and let's move on to a query which I'm going to call number 3. From P in we set persons, and then we'll be discussing about this time the operator or. Okay, let me see, where was it? I'm using a new keyboard on my side. It's a little bit confusing. Okay, so I will just copy this part, okay, to save on typing, and say instead of and I will say or. Okay, and I will, just for the sake of simplicity, just remove the caching, this thing, the transformation to a list. Okay, and instead of query 2, I will run this query at this point, which is or. Okay, so remember, this one is and. Okay, so where we use the word clause and another type, and or when we use p name, for example, and another type, or for a condition. Okay, so what happens here is when basically we have a condition. If one of this is met, then return the right result. Okay, so if one of this is met, so what's going to happen is, since we have two monicas, right, but they're both different, I mean, it's still going to return two records because the first condition is met, basically, which is p name equals to Monica, and that's how we get two records. Okay, so let's just jump into the next one. So basically at this point we'll be discussing about order by. That's a very handy feature, order by, so that we order the elements by for example by name in our case, for example. Okay, so for query 4 equals, and what I'm going to do at this point is I will copy everything from here. I'm a lazy programmer, obviously, and then I will say the following. I will delete this guy right here, and I will say grab all the records from the solution and order them by p dot name. Okay, so everything will get ordered in oops, wait. All right, that's okay right here, but I did it on the wrong, actually. So I would say right here order by, and then I would say pay name. Okay, I did it on the wrong one, on the wrong query, and then I would say order 4, And then when I run this expression, this program at this point, I will get all the records, but being in order. All right. So first of all, it's gonna start Elena, Emma, Jack, Jackie, Jason, and so on and so on. Okay. So we have some type of a sorting, obviously, right here. Okay. So the next one that we will be discussing is the group by. Okay, the group by clause, group by, and how it's really used. All right. Okay, so I would say this is var query. This one is 5. All right. And then what I'm going to do is, this one is going to be a little bit more complicated. P in persons. All right. And I would say like that, group, group, okay, group P by, for example, employee type. All right. By P employee type. So let's group the records by employee type, and let's place that collection into a person group. Okay, person group. All right. And then let's say where person group, okay, the records are bigger than what? Than 1. And then let's order that collection by person group key, and this time we're not selecting P, but we're selecting the person group. Okay, just keep that in mind, because now we have a new collection, obviously. So we are transforming the initial collection persons into a new person group collection by type, employee type, and then we are saying if the collection, the newly created collection for us, which we call person group, has number of rows or bigger than 1, more than 1 result, then order it by key and then select that group. Okay, so very simple. And then let's query this at this point. Well, actually at this point the query method will be a little bit more complicated, and what's going to happen is I'm going to have to rewrite it. So for each, again, all right, for each, and then we say the following: for each var person group, right, in person group, person, for each var in query 5, query 5, okay, and then for each, okay, for each PG element in query 5, loop through the newly created for each, alright, loop through the newly created person group items. Okay, so how do we do this? So obviously this is of a type